Hello and welcome to another episode of Dance Teachers Academy. I am your host, Jose on a mic, and with me as always is the amazing dancer, Amay. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. I'm excited about our guest.
Yep. Today,
Friend of the show.
My
and colleague.
Yes. Mr. Jean Dorff. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing actually wonderful, considering.
Yeah, well, there is that, yes.
The world is in a
different place.
That's for sure.
The world is definitely in a different state right now.
It is. It seems that we cannot to stop talking about it, and probably that's quite normal, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's because we're used to being, getting close together, and now we're being forced apart. Is what it is.
Especially in the dance community, or really in our everyday life, we are so close to people, and we're touching people. And now
we can't share each other's cooties. I mean, so there you go.
And so everybody is adapting and doing different things. But I want to say, first of all, Jean Dorff, you've been on our show several times, and we appreciate you so much. And originally came on the show when your book Broken Silence was in manuscript form, and then now it is a bestseller. And
it is.
Yes, and it's changing the world for the best. It's like changing the world one person at a time. So for the people that haven't heard about your book, Broken Silence, why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
All right. Yeah, so I am definitely proud that what we started to talk about probably about almost 2 years ago.
Wow.
In one of the
2 years
first
ago?
I guess so, 1.5 at least, because otherwise it wouldn't fit the timeline. But then the book was still in a final stage of the manuscript, and then in literally Thanksgiving 2018 Thanksgiving, the book was published. Broken Silence: Living with Passion and Purpose After Sexual Abuse. A dancer's story, so otherwise, we have to come up with something that makes it sense that I'm on this podcast. So I added that word, a dancer's story.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding. But in August 2018, the book was published, and I think I said in a podcast right after that to my own surprise, within 3 weeks after publication, the book was a bestseller in most of the English-speaking countries, and in the U.S., Canada, Australia, the UK. So those the bigger ones. The other ones we didn't even measure. And then also in the major categories that we were aiming for, the first one is of course self-help, which is a big category, and you could be, really against that category and don't send us emails if you are. Yeah, and biographies, autobiography. So those are the two, and there were some other categories too, but so memoirs and self-help is definitely something that we were aiming for. So yeah, very proud of that. Some people
sir.
know what is. Yeah, thank you. I must say that, of course I wrote, every author is famed to some extent and is looking for audience. There's no reason to publish a book if you don't want anyone to read it. So that is definitely...
there is that.
Stating the obvious.
Stating the obvious. I'm also a dancer, if you didn't know that, and there's, for me, at least from my perspective, almost no point in dancing if I cannot put it in front of an audience too. So I guess we call ourselves performers or performer artists.
Sure,
if
why
you want
not?
to be a little bit more, if you want to be a little bit more snooty about these things.
And I do want to say that what I feel is so incredible with your book is taking something so difficult for people to talk about, which is childhood sexual abuse, and being so frank about your story, revealing it so as to touch other people.
Sure.
And so that they can have some healing as you did. And just real quick, I just want to say that, you are my colleague at Studio22, and that's the studio is doing so many things right now to adapt in this painful situation that the world is in, and doing live stream classes, which you've been doing, and great part of that. But to get back to the book, thank you so much for being so frank and revealing your story in detail. Why was that important for your audience to touch them so that maybe they could also start their healing process?
That's a really nice way of looking at it, MA, and because there's definitely some sort of a double side in it, right? Did I write it pure for myself out of either vanity or maybe even some healing and getting over some internal things that I had? But literally in my life, and later on when I became more active as a life coach, I came across people who actually were struggling about the same issues because they had more or less the same experiences. It's hard to compare experience in these kind of matters, and let me allude a little bit to that. Someone can just have one really bad incident at an office, and we call that then maybe sexual harassment. It doesn't have to be something really, worse than that, and could be affected from that event for the rest of their life. And some people, unfortunately, like me, who have been abused for a very long time and could come out of that better for some reason. And it kind of started to be in my mind why these differences were there, but more importantly, what are the similarities between all these people who were literally privately invaded in their, most intimate private lives, so to speak, right? What is it that caused them to behave differently, and what are they missing out in life because of that? Now, it's very hard to track down if that one incident, or in my case, more than 5-7 years of period, if that is the only cause of the way how I live my life. But research at least showed that there's a lot of overlap between behavioral from people with that type of trauma. And like I said, it could be just one incident for some people that has that same effect as with someone like me who had it for years and years. And for me, most importantly, became actually is that at some point in time, I at least felt that I didn't lead an authentic life. Now, I bet 80% of the world maybe feels that way, and but I could definitely feel that it was coming from that place. And I thought it was just a personal conclusion. Didn't do so much with it until I started to talk to other people, and then I felt compelled to maybe if I write down my story and people can recognize themselves in it. And by writing that story, I also found out what worked for me and put that in some sort of a method, if you want to.
Sure,
and maybe if that method just could give at least some people some help or some encouragement, that would be good enough. It went a little bit further than that. And I must say, guys, I always felt that I was inspired to do that. And a lot of writers do that. And you might think weird of that or not, if you're the audience, but stay with me because if I read my own book back, and I almost do that on a regular basis when I talk to people, there are definitely things in there that I think, did I write that? That's actually pretty cool. And it's not
better than I thought.
It's not to tap myself on the shoulder, but I do understand because you get some sort of, I don't know, you get some sort of I wrote it and you want to be super modest about it. And of course, we all should be humble and modest. But at the same time, I do see that it can help people and I should be proud of that too. And actually, there's a responsibility on my side too. It cannot stop there. A lot of people have a hard time to talk about it. Maybe a little bit more men than women. It depends a little bit on the cultural background, but I see both sides stepping a little bit more stronger forward than before, reacting to it. And I always say, I love big audience to be honest. But if I truly can help one person to change their life, So then that would be great. And very recently I met one person, and this person is also a dancer, and he was a very beginner dancer, but nevertheless, he felt that dancing helped him a lot. But he came across my book, read it, and literally testified to me that his life completely changed through it. Now, that can only humble me.
Right.
That truly can only humble me.
Absolutely.
And I know you have spoke about liking an audience and, putting out there, except I do, and that's true for every performer, and you're an honest person, so you're being honest in that way. But I also, honestly, I know you, you're my colleague at Studio22, and a friend. You are our friend. We've become close with you. And I know, as you were finishing the book, how you were just always expressing, whether it was Facebook Live, this has got to stop. You had such a passion about this has got to stop, and as I'm talking to you right now, and you would give kind of facts and figures. There's
some stats out there, and it was
people that are being abused at this moment. I know your heart behind it, which is really to help people, and just I've got this idea of I've got to do something so that this stops, and so that was the way that you did it, and so we appreciate your passion behind it. And isn't it great when that one person comes up to you and says that you've made a difference, because that was the whole idea of you putting out your story, which is a very difficult experience in your childhood. You were so honest about it. So then what happened? After your book became a bestseller, people are approaching you. I know you kind of went to the next level then with Broken Silence.
Yeah. So in the back end of the book, so to speak, I also announced that we were going to start a non-profit organization, and it's called A Dancers Movement to Stop Sexual Abuse.
Perfect.
So we thought not too long about about the name, because we're dancers, we like to move. So what better name than A Dancers Movement to stop sexual abuse? Now here's the thing that I, of course, that is a little bit shy. I like sometimes to talk about myself in the third person, and so don't send me immediately to a place where they have a lot of those people. And but yeah, I was thinking okay, this is going to be immediately great, and we conquer the world now, and everyone is going to step into it. And this is so amazing, MA, and I'll say, is that when I talk individually to people like you, and you have definitely been great supporters of what we're trying to achieve here, then I see that same enthusiasm from a lot of people. But to make a true commitment for people to a topic like this seems to be a really, really hard thing. So they privately want to say yes, like this person that I talked to, and he actually is a really good supporter and doing a lot of work with me in, how do you call it, behind the scenes, so to speak. But to do the work with me in front of other people,
that's a whole
so
other
that
thing,
people
right?
can actually see how many people want to support this. That is something that I haven't solved yet, but I will announce some ideas that how we think we can solve that. But that was for me something that I never expected to be so difficult. So it's literally an uphill battle, where I think, man, maybe I should stop with this, find a normal job again, do all that kind of stuff.
I don't see you doing that, because you have such a passion to help people, and
they say, no, don't do that. But then I say, yeah, guys, I understand it, but Jean also has to eat.
Yes.
And so.
Well, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see the pattern of them not wanting to come to the forefront.
Yeah.
It took them long enough to sit there and just come to grips with their own experience. So
yeah, very perceptive.
Yeah, in retrospect, yeah, I can see that coming out. Hey, listen, I can help from back here, but I don't want to get into the limelight.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's very perceptive of you to say it that way, because that same pattern, why people don't talk about this, of course you see it when you do it on another level, on a different platform.
Sure.
So, but that's the real taboo that actually I've been talking about in my book, is we need to break that taboo, and that's why we call it broken silence. Mm-hmm. But it would be, and it is a little bit naive from my side to think that, okay, now I have a bestseller, and people don't even, I know it has really good reviews, otherwise you cannot become a bestseller, but at the same time, if you ask people to step forward and write a review about it, they don't do that. It's really, really hard. So anyone out there with better knowledge than me about how to, reach these audiences, help us to just, step forward, that will be really good. And this is the thing that we started at the same time with a Dancers Movement to Stop Sexual Abuse. Is we had this great concept of, we need to have stories out there. So every story that we hear is one less story to tell. And so that is definitely, for the lack of better words, if you want to, but like a media campaign that we still have on the shelf to leave. And then I think, everyone is going to do that. Everyone is going now to tell the stories. They cannot do it, without even revealing the name of the people that were involved. We all set it up really correctly. But no, people say, no, I don't do that. I mean, I want to tell you the story. I just don't want anyone to know it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want. And so
well, they can always do it anonymous. Change the name.
So you said, though, even on that, because you have...
Even then.
Yes, because it's one less story to tell is a website
so
they can go to. Go ahead.
Yeah, that shame and that guilt that's over there. And I can tell you a very personal story. My one of my siblings, he said to me right before I was about to publish the book, saying, I will do everything in my power to stop you from publishing that book.
Wow!
And it became a very emotional talk.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it became a very emotional talk between him and me, and he's 10 years older than me, so everyone knows who I'm talking about. And that's
you can take him. He's old.
He's okay now. But so I said to him, hey brother, don't you see that it doesn't matter for us anymore that they know these things about our family? It really doesn't, because you are almost 70. We are an old family, but we can look back at how we lived our lives because of it. Don't you think how wonderful it would be if other people don't have to go through that and can find a different path? And it opened his eyes. He said, yes, I had so much shame of it, that and I didn't want anyone to see that shame, and it changed his mind too about this topic. But this is what it is. It's always the shame, and I always say, think about who you are protecting if you don't tell your story.
Well, there
you
go.
Don't protect yourself.
You're protecting the
you
predator.
Don't protect the victims. Exactly right. You protect that person, and it is the last one. I'm not a vengeance person, by the way. I didn't do this to get people in prison, and they need help, and they might need to go to prison. Maybe if you're from Texas, we can do even worse things to them.
Sure.
But that's not what I'm saying. The Me Too movement, and they did a lot of good stuff, but they focus a lot on the people who actually did it, and that became the media, and not the people who actually were the victims. And often those were famous victims, right? If you are abused by a famous person as a victim, you become a famous victim.
Yes.
So, and that doesn't make your story less bad, or it doesn't make your story even worse. It's just you're a person in the end as well. But this book, Broken Silence, also try to bring people, the normal people. We're all normal people, by the way, but you know what I mean, right? The normal people, and unfortunately,
the average rank and file.
And once again, you're trying to focus on get those notifications off your phone, Jean.
Exactly. Yes, I'll do that. I'm sorry. And so let me do that.
No,
right
that's
now.
how we know this is live and raw, because you can hear
Ding! Right, live raw. If I can tell you who sent me a message.
Who was it?
Who was it? Yes. No. Yes. Sorry about that.
No, so I want to go back to, yes, you really focus on healing for people, and that's why you are a mental coach, right? Is that the right term?
Yep.
Just to help people in wherever they are. Maybe it's just to get successfully on the dance floor. I know there's people that compliment your ideas on just to get them overcome their fears, just to get on the dance floor and perform. That's at the least, and then at the strong coach in getting people having a really great life, and they can have passion and purpose and healing after a really a tragic incident, or as you said, years of abuse, for example. And I know that's where your heart is. So just a little bit to that. I know what dance did for me in my life. So at that time when I became a dancer, I didn't even see immediately the connection between all these things and components that I've been through. But I just know, if you're just, you and I may have been talked about this before, so for the audience this might be a little bit new, and forgive me if I go a little bit, too rough on this topic, but we sometimes forget to really picture what happens when someone gets abused, right? It could be domestic violence, or it could be all the way down to sexual abuse, and often it is both. But you have to think about it. I was a 7-year-old kid. Just picture for a moment how tall a 7-year-old kid is. I am from Asian descent, so that typically are not that tall people. So I was a pretty small boy for 7 years old. I've always been, specifically in the Dutch context. And my uncle, he was an adult. Mm-hmm. So I always say on stage, just picture for a moment how that would fit.
It's a graphic mental picture.
Yeah, sexual abuse became now a term that we are pretty okay to use it nowadays in sentences, but what's behind it is actually that picture that people almost don't dare to go to. Mm-hmm. And so your body it's not only your mind that is violated, but it's also your body.
Oh, clearly.
And people that went through that, have a strong disconnect between the two. They both go into places that they shouldn't go. Mm-hmm. And dancing, I did not know that when I started to dance, but, when I started to study dance, I quickly came to an understanding how these things work, is dancing puts you right back in your body. And it releases emotions, and I started to teach more about how to express emotions, the emotions that you choose to express, and not always the emotions that just overcome to you, because that happens a lot with abused people. They don't have a control how they can express their emotions. So it was a really a very natural connection for me to teach these things at the same time. And of course, I came across students who went through the same thing, and I, before you knew, I went into that area of coaching. So, they might call it a mental coach or a life coach, for the lack of a better word. And maybe we find a better term for that, down the road. But that's a little bit what it is. And I think we all, body, mind, soul, it's all, something from the same mesh. I don't think you can comfortably say, hey, this is where my mind stops and my body starts. So we have to address these things.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to address these things from a holistic point of view. You're a dancer yourself, and you can definitely understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, I mean, it's all about a mind-body harmony, for sure.
Yeah, the great dancers, they at least on stage we can demonstrate that. Sometimes we have a pretty messed up life in other areas,
but they look good doing it.
On stage, we well, I mean, it's one of the reasons why dancers like you and me are so too almost obsessed of being on the dance floor, which I have called. And only later on I started to understand why I called it that way, is that was often the only place where I truly felt at home and in myself, which is basically a very unhealthy way of saying. It's very poetic, of course, but that is pretty unhealthy and sad if you think about it, that would be the only place where you truly feel at home and safe. So that quickly indicates there must be something going on in life. So what I want with this is you need to feel at home everywhere you are. You need to feel authentic wherever you are. And by choice, because of a passion, and maybe you want to express different things when you're on the floor. That's great, like you do it on the podcast right now. That's your guys' passion, right? Mm-hmm. But you should be always feel good in your body and your mind and your soul no matter where you are. So that's a little bit what's the overall thing.
I love that.
There you go. Some more choice words from Mr. Jean Dorff. Awesome, dude. Thank you.
Jean, I don't want to come off of talking about Broken Silence too soon, just to make sure that we've covered everything that you want to talk about that, because I do want to talk about something exciting that you're doing right now. So before I talk about that, in your Phoenix program, what anything else you want to say about One Less Story to Tell or Broken Silence? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can tell maybe one more thing, and that definitely when that is more concrete and real, then we hopefully can bring it back into the podcast. But Broken Silence, I always felt that it shouldn't not only be a book, but it truly also should be a dance, right? Oh. That would be a very logical next step, right?
Yes.
So,
there you go.
So my dance partner and I, Irene, and I have been working on this together with a Dutch choreographer, and in the dance world, he's a good name. So I'll mention him because he's proud to be part of it. His name is Ton Greten. He actually happened to be also from the Netherlands, but that's just a coincidence. Uh-huh. And very shortly, Ton was immediately on board in doing stuff with us, working with us as professionals, send over his normal way of working, his piece as well. And I said, Ton, I want to work with you. I know him since I was a young dancer. I said, Ton, I want to work with you, but you have to read the book. You don't read the book?
Oh, okay.
I said, no. He said, I'm very used to, use these themes and convert them in dancing. He's truly awesome in it, by the way.
Wow.
He said, okay, but in this case, I want you to read the book.
Yes.
And he said, and he finally budged in. He said, okay, I have a travel trip to make to when at the time that we could still travel, by the way. And now I'll take the book with me and I'll read it for you. And when he was reading it, I started to receive messages from him. And he said to me, I had no idea. I said, I had no idea.
Wow.
We need to make haste with this. We need to do different. We need to do. He became truly inspired. He still is until today, by the way.
Wow.
We flew in the summer. Last summer we were there with, was it the summer? It was a little bit later than that. But that's really better. It was actually more the winter.
Back when we can fly.
Yeah, we flew to the Netherlands and had 3 awesome days with him. We started to work most of all on the concept and the choreography. The choreography is ready. We need to work it out, practice it in, and bring it to such a level that the dance world would accept it as, not only as a good theme to dance with, but we also want to give them the enjoyment of looking at a dance that's trying to tell a story, which is, I always like that part of dancing anyhow, to tell stories through the dancing. So, so that's where we are. We will, we are working on it. We're practicing it. We definitely still try to find a couple of teachers that we want to work with to help us bring it to another level. But we made a really good start. We were already invited by the Dutch Association of Dance Teachers They have their 100-year anniversary, and they think of featuring the first time showing it on stage with us. We were in the middle of the, well, not negotiation, but in the middle of talking about should we do that? Is this the right event to do it? When, of course, the things happened that are going on around the world. So that event, that event has postponed, and there might be a good reason for that.
Yes. Well, I mean, and let's just talk about that for a second. Let me just please give a lot of credit to Irene Martins, who is not just your beautiful dance partner, but tirelessly working for one less story to tell. And then for the dancers movement, and she's working hard for you today.
Yes.
The Phoenix program. So always trying to heal the world and be helpful. Tell us about this Phoenix program. I'm interested.
Okay, so tomorrow, exactly 2 weeks ago, Irene and I sat at a coffee bar in Edison. That is Dallas for the people who are not from this area. So and check out the coffee there. By the way, it's really good. And and we were sitting there.
We go.
Yeah. So and then you could still go to a coffee shop.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Strange as it is, but she was working on some things, and we actually were prepping class, and then she said, all my other work got cancelled, and she works as a brand ambassador. Typically, those people do a lot of product promotion at events and what have you not. And as dancers, we always need to scramble for money. Everyone knows that. And Irene is a young dancer, so she is still in the midst of that. So she said, that kind of put maybe a risk on our plans to go to Blackpool and all these other big dance events that we were planning to go to. And I said, sweetie, we have always been doing well, so we will find a solution. She said, no, it's different. This is only 2 weeks ago, so
this is very hard.
Different. Yeah. She said, yeah, I see jobs getting cancelled over. I said, wow. I said that must affect a lot of people.
A lot.
A lot.
It's a big
and we
hit.
didn't know at that time, right? So it sounds like, wow, that's so obvious. But at that time, it was not that obvious.
Okay.
And that's only 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So I said to her, what if I could do something for you guys? And she said, I don't know how, but yeah, and
every little bit helps.
A little good help. And so, a long story short, I said, well, I had on my planning to bring my coaching online into a larger audience in two different ways. One, I already implanted. Some of the coaching is more inspirational.
Is that the
and
place?
I always felt that. Yeah, and I always felt I had to do that for free. It's a little bit a different story how that came to bear, but I was caught up as a coach in all kind of modern coaching models and programs and stuff like that. And I think, man, this is going to be crazy. That's not why I started this. I wanted to bring these messages to the world as easy, accessible as possible, and ready for everyone who wants to hear it and feels they need to hear it. So that's how the place became. We do that every Tuesday, and it's for free. It's always for free there. And I said, well, maybe I need to come up with something with my coaching as well that help other people, make me, get some income. And I wanted to do this all on what we call automation in this line of business of online coaching. And I said, maybe we'll find another model to do that. And I need to speed up maybe that plan to bring coaching online, my specific coaching online. The first lesson, by the way, is straight from the book Broken Silence.
Okay.
And there is that coaching model in there that talks about the 5 energy and how you can help to find your authentic self and find where your passion is using that model. So that's it. I brought it online in a week, and it's going to be live, by the way, by the end of the day. So we're really current in the middle of it.
We're missing Irene, but I think Irene is the reason that it's going to be live by the end of the day, right?
We're talking fresh.
Well, yeah, we're talking fresh, right? and we decided to make it more a people's business than doing it all online, and make it. And it sounds really commercial, but it is super. I always want to bring things in reach of as many people as possible. If you know anything about life coaching nowadays, it has become an area of growth. It's one of the fastest growing industry, but it's also where you see that, the true deep coaching is often only in reach of the people with a little bit more deeper pockets than I have, at least.
Uh-huh.
And I've always been trying to do that differently. Even my coach says that's why you are poor. You should, carve out a place with. You have.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. And I have a long experience in business and in coaching. They said, you definitely have the capacity to draw in some, what we call VIP customers. And I always said, his name is Adam. I said, Adam, no, you don't understand. He said, oh my gosh. He said, you're one of those healers, are you? I said, no, I'm not one of those healers. I'm not a healer at all.
You said that like it's a bad thing.
Well, that's what I said. I said, well, think about it, Mother Teresa, also so tight, poor. I said, no, there must be another way to look at this world. There must be. And like I said, with stopping the sexual abuse, there must be another way, because I do believe, by the way, guys, I say it a little bit lighthearted, but I do believe that one of the reasons why we have things like abuse is because I think we went a little bit wrong in the mindset what we have about ourselves. A lot of the abusers, the real people with a psychological problem, I can't help those. But the things that sometimes go wrong in a less drastic way than a rapist on the street is different. It comes from insecurity, lack of self-worth. It's a pure mindset thing, and you can see it. You can read about it. A lot of people struggle with that. They struggle about lack of confidence. They struggle about feeling that they're not good enough for this world. They struggle about this because this whole world is about performing, and you only are worth talking about if you are the best of the best, right? What about the normal common people?
Right.
What about the normal common people? Like in our studio, we embrace every student. It's not a commercial for it. And trust me, I love to work with competitive dancers, and I have students that are going for European and world top places, seriously. But I love to work with the common dancers, and they are there too. And some people don't even dare to say, hey, I'm a dancer, because they think they can only say I'm a dancer if you're a top dancer. It has nothing to do with it.
True.
I'm not a top dancer, but I'm a dancer, right? So that is what this type of coaching is about, to encourage them. And you can have a passion without immediately trying to save the world. And so I always wanted to bring that type of coaching to the world. And just this situation forced me to do it in a different way. We call that Project Phoenix, because I think we can help other people to make income, and it sounds super commercial, but it is just the reality of the day.
Sure
and doing, so to speak, business in a little bit a more old-fashioned way than doing only the online stuff. So I developed a program within Jean Dorff Coaching, so to speak, but it's all under the NPO, the non-profit organization. That's where the money goes to, by the way. Yeah, that's in the end where the money goes to. We will be very open in the books about it. And we do that.
So the Phoenix program is part of the non-profit organization.
Yeah, it has different brands, but I've been meditating on this a lot of time, and I believe we need to bring everything we can to that organization, and maybe we will be so powerful that we can support other non-profit organizations too. That will be awesome.
that would be awesome. Good. Yes, absolutely.
That will be great. But first, now we need to look at, and there are quite a few people already on board. We first need to look also at people. Can we do two things at the same time? Can we hit two birds with one stone. That is actually an awful picture if you think about it. But,
we understand what you mean.
I think everybody gets what you mean.
Yeah, can we do that? Can we help people also to get an income, do something that they do very well, like connecting with people, stuff like that? And can we do that with a product that everyone can be proud of? So that's a lot to load on someone's shoulders. So luckily, I have a few good people around me. One of them you already mentioned. That's Irene Martens, who has become my partner in crime, my partner on the dance floor.
There you go.
And in so many,
a lovely
so many
dancer
other things.
and a lovely lady, just an absolutely lovely.
Super proud
lady.
of this very young woman to step up and show up so boldly, and yes. Trust me, it's often really against her personality.
Really?
She's doing it.
Wow.
Oh yeah. She is actually very introverted.
She
does not like.
Wow, seriously.
Believe it or not. Yeah, believe it or not.
She has stepped boldly forward. That is for sure
doubt.
In many ways.
Yeah. That is a true testimony of. And she used to be one of my coaching clients, so to speak. But that's truly a testimony that. Yeah, it's great to talk about your authentic self, but sometimes you just also need to do what you need to do. That's what it is. When the calling is there, the calling is there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. That's Project Phoenix. The name, if someone didn't caught on to that, is not because of Harry Potter, who had that too. But the Phoenix, of course, is a bird that rises up from the ashes.
I love that symbolism.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we have a beautiful logo, but that's just an internal logo for us to inspire ourselves why we do these things. So I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you. Yeah.
All right, Mr. John Dorff, I know you're an extremely busy man, and you need to get helping that young lady launch this ship that you have coming out tonight. So we're going to go ahead and let you get back to your business of healing. Is that if that's okay with you?
Oh, definitely. I just, maybe if I can make one comment for all the dancers out there.
Certainly.
Right, all the dancers. I know it's a hard time for all the people who make a living out of the dance world, and we all going online or teaching in other ways. I think it's all wonderful. I think we are hugely, MA and I are hugely supported by the studio that we actually connect ourselves to here in the Dallas area when we work from Dallas. And MA, you can mention the name if that's okay.
Studio22,
but I think those people, they did wonderful. They go in length to see if they can help us as well. So I just wanted to say that because that definitely touched my heart if I see those messages and in how we try to go through this time. And by the way, the fact that we're home doesn't mean, guys, that you have to stop dancing, right? Dancing has nothing to do with
clear the furniture.
Clear the furniture, yeah.
That's what we did. Yeah.
That's right.
We don't need that coffee table.
Yes.
We don't have coffee there anyway.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much.
Jean.
You kids be careful out there, be safe, and get back to work.
You bet.
All right.
You bet. Thank you. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Mr. Jean Dorff, ladies and gentlemen. A very inspiring young man.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, well, lovely May, thank you for being here.
Jose, thank you so much.
This has been very fun, very fun. All right, folks, this has been another episode of Dance Teachers Academy. Thank you for watching.